only a week and just a moment of silence. You deserve far more.
Well, Undersheriff, thank you so much for bringing this to us today. I mean, when I left the Army, many people asked me if I was going to pursue law enforcement as a career. And after jumping out of airplanes and shooting machine guns, I said, no, I think that's a little too dangerous for me. I certainly have an appreciation for the sacrifices made by our peace officers. Commissioner Thomas, I would also like to thank you for your years of service, working for all of us, and especially taking the time to honor. In the Army, serving in the infantry, we would speak quite a bit about those who went before us, those who never did come home. And I definitely have an appreciation for those who wear a uniform, work for us all, serve us all, and don't come home. So thank you for bringing this to us. I would like to give an opportunity for the public to speak. If I could ask you to concede the podium for a moment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Undersheriff. Appreciate it very much. If there's anybody who'd like to come forward and speak on this resolution, you are invited forward now.
Yes, my name is Doug Brader. I live at 10518 Treeswood Circle in Highlands Ranch. And I hope the board votes a solid 3-0 in favor of this resolution. Make me proud to live in a county that honors their law enforcement officers. In this day and age, it's very disturbing. The political leaders of this country are more than willing to sacrifice our people for political gain, and it's disgusting. And I hope that the board once again votes 3-0 to adopt this resolution. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward and speak on this resolution? Seeing none, Troy, do we have anybody online who would like to speak on this resolution?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised.
Thank you. We will take that as none. And bringing it back to the board, would the board members like to make any other further comments or submit a motion at this time?
I have a motion to approve a resolution proclaiming May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as Law Enforcement Week in Douglas County, Colorado, and honoring the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy.
Second.
The chair hears a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Clerk, please mark that as a 3-0 yes vote.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, have I been hearing you vote?
I follow a model that I've had before where the chair will give his vote as direction to the clerk.
Okay, because I've always heard that the chair just votes along with the rest of us. That's why I keep listening to hear your vote.
I appreciate the comment, Commissioner, and but certainly willing to think about it at least. Has the clerk had any questions about the votes cast this evening? Thank you, I appreciate that. Moving right along, unless there's other comments aside from the agenda by members of the board. Moving on to 4C, a resolution proclaiming May 2021 as Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month.
I was going to say, Brittany, you've grown taller.
Quite a change. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Brittany Castle, representing Community Development. In recognition of Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month, staff wanted to highlight a few of the more significant historic preservation items from the past year that demonstrates the board's ongoing commitment and investment in preserving historic resources in Douglas County. Last year, the History Repository successfully moved all 170,000 artifacts to its new location. After working with staff to assess the need to relocate the repository as a result of lease termination in 2020, the Commissioners chose to invest in a new building, which has provided a more efficient workspace to care for the county artifacts. The county now has more space to acquire more collections that pertain to Douglas County history. One of the new items the repository acquired over the past year is a large painting from 1891, painted by a Denver area artist named Helen Power. Perry Park Historical Society reached out to the repository and helped coordinate the donation. The painting is a landscape scene and was done on site of the Palmer Lake area. Staff plans to assess conservation next month so it can be properly displayed. Char Nauman, president of the Roxborough Historical Society, donated historic furniture from her personal family collection to the repository for the Mick-Helmer cabin located in Roxborough. When the current grant work is complete on the cabin, the furniture will be displayed in the cabin for tours. Staff recently kicked off a restoration project at the Rock Ridge Cemetery, which is located along Highway 83, just south of Lake Gulch Road. There are over 30 headstones and footstones from the 1880s to the 1950 era that need restoration work. Staff is working with the company to clean, reset, and restore the markers in the cemetery. The county was awarded a State Historic Fund grant for restoration work at the Greenland Post Office. This project will be kicking off with a pre-construction meeting at the end of the month. Staff has been coordinating with open space staff and the Larkspur Historical Society as the project progresses. These are just a few of the highlights of the past year, and staff is available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, probably more of a comment than a question, but Brittany, I just want to thank you so much for your incredible service. I think that your experience, acumen, understanding of archaeology really raises the bar for Douglas County and has for some time now. Whether it was our recent tour of the historic repository or getting out to Lamb Springs to see what's over there with our former Commissioner Roger Partridge, we do know from our citizen survey that historic preservation is a top priority. And so we want to endeavor to continue to support you in that effort. So thank you.
Commissioner.
I'm not quite sure. We've been and watched and seen the repository and all the great things of our history there. And I think it's important that we always remember where we've come from, so that we continue to go forward remembering the greatness from the past. So thank you for what you do for us.
You're welcome.
But history's all in books, right? No, not at all, especially here in Douglas County. Personally, I was very impressed by coming by and touring the repository. Thank you so much for your hospitality and letting me touch things and letting me put my hands on actual history of our community. Obviously, I need to watch my time on this one because having a history as my course of study during my education, I could talk about this stuff all day. But thank you so much. I am very enthusiastic naming Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month. I think that would be great. So thank you so much for presenting. If I'd like to open the floor for public comment. Anybody, so go ahead if you could concede the podium, but anybody who'd like to come forward in order to speak on this resolution, please come forward at this time. And seeing none. And Troy, do we have anybody online who'd like to speak on this subject?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised, so I have none.
Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. Bringing it back before the board, any further comments by the board, or is there a motion on this resolution?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution proclaiming May 2021 as Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And will the clerk please mark that as 3-0 in approval. Moving along to 4D, A resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lone Tree and Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, regarding financial contribution for the I-25 Lincoln Avenue Traffic and Mobility Improvement Bridge Project, Douglas County. I take it we're hearing from Art Griffith today.
Good afternoon, Art Griffith for Public Works Engineering, and I was overly excited about the history as well. So
We could tell, Art, we could tell.
just coming up early. Before you is a resolution for an IGA with the City of Lone Tree to advance a very important project, which is a long-term solution to improve Lincoln Avenue from Park Meadows Drive to Oswego, which includes potentially reconstructing the I-25 bridge to accommodate safety, mobility, and capacity issues that we're facing in Douglas County. The phase of this project is for pre-construction activities, including NEPA clearances, surveying, subsurface utility, and 30% plans. The project is estimated to cost $3.75 million for this phase of work. Recently, Douglas County, CDOT, and Lone Tree representatives selected a consultant for this project, Ms. Wilson and Company, and we are negotiating a final fee and scope with them. That was approved by CDOT, and recently Lone Tree entered into an intergovernmental agreement with CDOT to receive the federal funds, which represent about 1/3 of the project costs. So be glad to answer any questions about this IGA and our participation.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Questions for staff from the board? Commissioner Thomas.
So Art, when I was reading through this packet, usually the cost, the amount is listed on the agenda item, and I don't see it listed in this one. So this is for $225,000, is that right?
This agreement is, the one I'm reading is I-25 Lincoln Avenue Traffic and Mobility.
Oh, this is D, I'm sorry. This is
There was
D.
an agenda where there was a C, D, and E, and then the last agenda came out, then added agenda items, so I think that might have thrown you off. But this is for the I-25 Lincoln Mobility. Our contribution is stated in the last paragraph of $1,250,000, and the total project cost, as I just stated, was $3.75 million estimated. And the fee is not final, but that's approximate. We're in the process of negotiating that with the consultant, and we're a partner with Lone Tree on that.
Okay. Usually they're listed on the agenda, and they're not on this one, so thank you, I appreciate that.
Commissioner Layden, any questions?
I have none on this. Certainly the ongoing work through the regional partners on the I-25 Lincoln corridor is a big deal to me. It's my district, and I know you've been hard at it for many years. So thank you for bringing this forward to us.
All right, good to see this one in front of us for an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement. When did we start talking about this at Dr. Cog in the subregional? 3-4 years ago?
It's quite a process, but I think the final selection was made by the Dr. Cog board in the fall of 19, so we probably started in 18 working on it. So
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm very familiar with this project, and I'll make my thoughts known after the opportunity for public comment. But any other questions from the board for Mr. Griffith? At this time, I'd like to open the floor for public commentary on this resolution. If there's anybody who'd like to speak on this resolution, please come forward at this time. And seeing none, Troy, do we have anybody to speak online?
I have none, Commissioner.
Thank you, ma'am. With no further questions, any comments from the board or any action at this time?
I have a motion to approve a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lone Tree and the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, regarding the financial contribution for the I-25 Lincoln Avenue Traffic and Mobility Improvement Bridge Project, Douglas County Project Number CI 2019-014.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And I've got that as a 3-0 vote in favor of a passage. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Are you staying up here? You're going to speak to us again?
Hope so.
Outstanding. Moving along then to item 4E, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lone Tree and the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas County regarding financial contribution for the C-470 trail over Acres Green. Take it away, Mr. Griffith.
Thank you, Commissioner. This project is also a DRCOG selected project. A portion of the DRCOG funds were allocated for bicycle and pedestrian transit projects, a fairly significant amount, and this project was fortunate enough to be selected to receive $2 million for construction. This IGA pertains to our contribution of $225,000 for those pre-construction activities to design and construct a pedestrian and bicycle bridge to carry the C-470 trail over Acres Green Drive. It's a safety concern for one, in the sense that when they widen C-470, they widen to the outside, and the sight distance for the people that use the C-470 trail for recreational or commuting use or just shopping have less sight distance as the project, the main C-470 managed lane project expanded. So we're excited to see this safety and mobility project moving forward. We're sharing the design cost with Lone Tree on a 50-50 basis.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Mr. Griffith? Commissioner Layden, go ahead.
I have none on this one. Thanks, Art.
Commissioner Thomas.
Okay, so this is 4D that we're on, right? So this is $225,000. And then there's additional 1.25 million, is that right? For a total of 4 million?
I'm sorry, this project is, just to clarify, is just for the design phase. So the total design phase is estimated to be around $450,000. Our contribution is, at this time, $225,000 for the design phase. There will be potentially a separate agreement where we contribute $1 million towards construction, but it is not included in this item at this time. It'll come back as a separate agreement once the design is complete for your consideration.
Okay, maybe that's why I got so confused, because this says 4D, and it's talking about 1.25 million in pre-construction activities and 1.5 million, and so you're telling me this doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about?
Correct. I actually, that's why I came up during the history, because previous versions of the agreement were sent out, and my 3 items were C, D, and E, and then they shifted. And so that's probably where the confusion is coming. So I did like history, but I came up because the item numbers changed in a later packet. I believe that came out yesterday, and you might be looking at the sequential lettering from last Friday.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for all that commotion. No wonder I'm confused.
Sorry we did that to you, Art. We'll work on that next
I
week.
still like the history, so I was ready to do history too.
There you go.
Have other experts for that. So.
Yeah, to the board, I mean, once again, this is another DRCOG Denver Regional Council of Governments project that has come before us. I've had an opportunity to kind of observe the facts on this one and the whole project as was presented, so I actually have no questions right now. I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor, unless there are other questions by the board. I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor for public comment at this time. If anybody would like to come forward and speak on this resolution, please do so now. And seeing none, Troy, do we have anybody online who'd like to speak on this subject?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no public comment.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'd like to bring it back to the board for any further comments or possible actions by the board at this time.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lone Tree and the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado regarding financial contribution for the C-470 Trail over Acres Green Bike Pedestrian Bridge Project, Douglas County Project Number CI 2019-013.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Will the clerk please record that as 3-0 to approve? Let's move along to agenda item 4F, resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Parker and Board of Douglas County Commissioners regarding cost sharing for Lincoln Avenue Widening Project. Mr. Griffith.
Thank you. Yes, this project is an important regional project, high priority in our 2040 plan that was adopted in 2019. This is a partnering opportunity project to advance the widening of Lincoln Avenue. We're going to focus there near Lone Tree. With the previous agenda, this segment of Lincoln Avenue is to improve the section of Lincoln Avenue between Jordan Road and Parker Road to improve mobility, improve incident management, provide more reliable transportation network, reduce congestion in and around the Parker area. A county contribution shall not exceed $250,000, represents about 50% of the initial preliminary design and elements. So glad to answer any questions about this project as well.
Any questions for Mr. Griffith from the board?
I have none, thank you.
No questions, but just an additional comment that I certainly appreciate the role that our chair plays at Dr. Cog and the sub-regional forum and the tip cycle. Obviously, these projects have been well vetted by you and your group for a long time alongside Mr. Griffith. So I have no questions on this one.
Since you brought up Dr. Cog, this project was previously not eligible for funding through Dr. Cog, but recently the Dr. Cog board approved it as part of the 2050 RTP plan, as they added also Happy Canyon interchange and Crystal Valley interchanges. So we're happy to see that we had 10 projects submitted from the subregion that did make it and will be eligible in the future for federal funding.
Okay. Thanks, Art.
I usually have all sorts of questions for Art about Dr. Cog's stuff, but today I have nothing on this project, Art. Any further questions by the board? I'd like to go ahead and open up for public comment. If there's anybody who'd like to come forward and speak on this resolution, please come forward now. And seeing none, Troy, do we have anybody online to speak on this subject?
I have none, Commissioner.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to bring it back to the board for any commentary and discussion or action by the board at this time.
I have a motion to approve a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Parker and the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, regarding cost sharing for Lincoln Avenue, Jordan to Parker Road Widening Project, Douglas County Project Number CI 2020-017.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. There are no noes heard. If the clerk will please mark that as a 3-0 for approval. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Very much appreciated. At this time, we come to agenda item, our final agenda item, and which I'd like to turn it over to the county manager for any comments.
No comments today. If there's any questions on the county manager report, please let me know.
Any questions for the county manager? Any comments about the county manager's report?
None for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one item. Thank you.
Hang
I'm
on.
wondering, what are all these people waiting for?
I'm going to gavel you out of order there, county manager. Well, no, I won't. Holly, please take it away.
All right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Holly Carroll for staff. Today we have an employee recognition to present to you for Facilities, Fleet, and Emergency Support Services team. These employees applied tools learned in the Douglas County Innovation League, or DIESEL, training program to improve the accounts payable invoicing process. Stepping forward to make things better requires courage to admit that things may not be perfect and effort to make tangible adjustments that benefit citizens. So today we applaud this team's commitment to positive change. At this time, I'd like to introduce Martin Moe, who is our DIESEL training specialist, Sonia Ormsby, and Adrian Riddle.
Thank you, Holly. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Before we discuss the specifics of the invoicing process, I'd like to provide an overview of the DIESEL program. DIESEL began about 6 years ago as a 4.5-day-long training to teach process improvement tools and methodologies to frontline staff, with the theory being the people closest to the work know the problems and the potential solutions better than anyone else, and they just need the tools to unlock their potential. A couple years ago, we expanded our services to include a training for supervisors on how to lead process improvement, and even started facilitating and conducting projects ourselves. To this day, 200 Douglas County employees have been trained in the DIESEL methodology and have improved countless services for the citizens of Douglas County. And I will say the FFVSS is a shining example of what staff can do when they're given the right tools. This is a picture of the framework we actually used to inform our process improvement project, and is what I would consider to be the keystone tool of the DIESEL program itself. It's called an A3 for reasons I won't go into, but at a high level, it can be divided into 3 stages represented by the different colors. First, staff learn to identify problems and to quantify them using metrics. Then they learn tools on how to fix those problems by addressing the root causes. And last, they learn tools to sustain the improvements to make sure they don't recur. First step in this A3 is to identify why change is needed. In this case, FFVSS staff converted to an electronic accounts payable invoicing process, which created some unintended consequences, such as large volumes of paper receipts having to come in and be aggregated and scanned into the system, which created about 20 hours worth of work each week for the admin staff. Because of this, staff identified a goal of streamlining and standardizing the process to make sure, regardless of who was doing the work would be performed efficiently and effectively every time. Part of the DIESEL training teaches staff to identify relevant process metrics and to inform those metrics by finding the appropriate data sources. Part of the reason we do that is because process improvement can be pretty emotional, and we found the best way to remove that emotion is to make it as objective as possible by using metrics and data. I won't go into the details of these data. However, I would just like to highlight that the stated goal of the staff was to reduce the processing time by about 50% while also reducing their error rate. In order to achieve those goals, we did a 1.5-day-long rapid improvement event where everyone involved in the process actually got into a room together to discuss, map, and even walk the process, where we went to see the work actually being done, not to critique it, but just to get a fresh sets of eyes on the work to better inform the potential solutions. And with that, I will actually turn it over to Adrian to discuss those solutions.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So some of the ideas that we came up with for brainstorming was duty sharing and mobile review. One of the key takeaways was actually having a centralized email for all invoices and receipts to come to, which has enabled us to process invoices in a much more timely fashion, as well as receipts. The staff, they can either scan in their receipt or actually take a photo. So we're getting it in real time, rather than it sitting around for too long. Also, supervisors are required to submit the receipts so that we know that the coding is correct by the time it gets to us. And all of the staff now either has the app, the JP Morgan app, or I also email the link for JP Morgan every month. Just as a reminder, you can review your receipts this way. It's, again, cut down on our processing time substantially. We did a process walk. Sorry, how do I go to the next one? Sorry about that. So we did a process walk with everyone. So they actually got to see firsthand just how long it was taking us to scan, save, and upload receipts, which gave them a better understanding of just how time-consuming it was and how much of a pain point it was. And how were the changes received? COVID was actually to our benefit. It enabled everybody to kind of take on this new way of doing things. They were much more receptive to it. So it was, we have to email receipts, and everybody was on board. No questions asked. They continue to do things in a timely fashion with very little, if any, reminders. So it's gone on quite well.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So as we've gone through this process, these are the results which we can pat ourselves on the back for, is that we have now basically, we are almost at 100% being accurate with everything that's coming in. My staff, Adrian and Heidi Cook, who is not here, they are the two that are really into this. They don't have to follow up with staff. I have to say that our supervisors, our managers have been very receptive to this and really support it. So this has been a great exercise for us. So with that being done, we're going to move on to the next area of business. And our fleet division is a huge user of both credit cards and invoicing. We have a large vendor base. So what we want to do now is we want to review those monthly processes of seeing what it is that we're paying for and such. So we're going to review how we're spending, are our policies being followed? Do we need to put things out for IFBs, RFBs? Are there state and national bids that we can piggyback on so we can make sure that we are getting the best price for our fleet? Once this information is all compiled, we will discuss as a group, and then we will go through the next steps as needed. And we will definitely be looking at Mo for his assistance in that. So we will be doing the same process with the walk, the A3. So any questions?
Questions from the board?
So I'm not sure I know your name. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sonia Ormsby.
I'm like,
You see me with a mask for the last year, so.
I'm sorry, Sonia. It's like, I think
okay,
I know who
Commissioner.
she is. Thank
It's
you. I
fine.
apologize.
It's okay. No questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have some comments. I love this. This is amazing. I am such a huge fan of Diesel and Holly's leadership there, our staff's leadership there. You know, you all, when it comes to your departments and how to manage a process, you are far more important than we will ever be. And we love the idea of you running your own process in your own departments and making them more, I mean, that statistic, Oh my goodness, you went from 1 week on something to 2 hours?
Yep.
You know, we often look at the cross-jurisdictional comparisons to other counties and how many FTEs they will employ for the same function. And it is, you guys are lean and mean and good at what you do, and you take pride in it. So I'm really proud of you guys.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for sharing with
We
us.
appreciate those comments.
Yeah.
For the JP Morgan process, so that's an app, we can get it loaded on our phone?
Yes, that is correct. There is a mobile link that you can utilize.
Cool. Could we get, I don't know if the other board members are at all interested, but I wonder if I could get a email kind of giving directions on what app to grab, because prior to running for this office, I was with a company for 4.5, 5 years, and once we switched to that, in like my second month with the company, it took at least an hour off of every week after I'd travel to just, take the pictures of the receipts as I was incurring them. And I guess I'm not running up quite the bill that I used to when I was traveling for my prior employer, but I would be very interested in making use of that myself.
We'd be happy to share that with you.
And-
Absolutely.
And good on the staff, county manager, for taking us to that point, because, yeah, the savings of time and administrative effort are crazy with applications like that, so good
Yes, we
job.
can spend more time on other things.
Any other questions from the board? Well, I happen to notice that there is no action, so Holly, would you like to wrap us up?
That is it for our presentation today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carroll. And I see no other action items on the agenda. Any other?
Commissioner updates? Commissioner comments?
That's what I was going for. Any commissioner updates, any commissioner comments?
I always like to look through the county manager report, and this time what I found is interesting is our great Human Services Department. And they have put together some trainings. The schedules will be available on our website soon. But this question I thought was really interesting. The goal of the training is to understand what being an at-risk adult looks like from a personal level. We cover the types of mistreatment investigated by Adult Protective Services, signs of caretaker neglect, understanding the importance of boundaries, and what resources are available in Douglas County. Knowing that our population is aging and that we have more and more people that could be in this category of at-risk adults, I think this is important, and I think it's useful that our Human Services Department is putting this training available so that we can all be, just paying more attention to what's going on so we don't have people slipping through the cracks, and that's what our mental health program is all about. So I was really excited when I saw that training is becoming available, so thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioner comments at this time?
None from me, Mr. Chair.
And I have none, and so I have us adjourned.